everyone, welcome back to my channel Code with Hafiz. This is Hafizullah Masoudi, and in this video, first of all guys, I will show you how you can install Vue.js in Laravel 8, and after that I will show you how you can secure API routes using Passport and JWT, which is JavaScript Web Token. So guys, let's start. First of all, we have to install Vue.js into our Laravel 8 project. Well, this is the project from the previous video, and we already have installed Fortify, and we have created the functionality of login and register and password reset using email with Fortify. So now let's open our project in the text editor, and in here let's open our terminal, and inside here let's first install Vue. So I will install it using yarn. So yarn add Vue. So Vue has been successfully installed. Now after Vue we have to install Vue template compiler and also Vue loader. So to do that we have to say yarn add Vue hyphen template hyphen compiler, and after that let's also say Vue hyphen loader at, let's also describe the version for it, so 15.9.5, and press enter. So they have been installed successfully guys. Now we have to check some of the files to ensure that Vue would work in our project. So in here let's scroll down and open first of all this package.json, and in here if I scroll down you can see we have installed Vue, Vue loader, Vue template compiler, and we also have installed Bootstrap, Pauper.js, jQuery in our previous videos. So if you didn't catch up that, you can watch the previous videos to know how we did this. And after this you also have to make sure, let's open this webpack.mix. So in here you also have to make sure that you are using resources JS app.js and SAS app.scss, and then you are sending those code to the public JS and public CSS. So guys, this was how to install Vue.js. Now we have to import it into our project. So let's close these files and let's scroll to the top, and in here let's go to resources. Now inside this resources let's go to JS and open app.js. So as you guys can see, we don't have anything to import Vue. What I will do is press enter here, and let's first import Axios. So import Axios from Axios. After Axios, let's import our Vue. So import Vue from Vue/dist/Vue.js. Now we can create our Vue object. So in here let's say const app equals to new Vue parenthesis and curly braces, and we want to target element, and the div that we want to target is with the ID of app. Now let's save it, and let's open our main blade and check if we are passing the ID to that div. So let's go to views, layouts, and app.blade, and in here let's scroll down. As you guys can see, we are already declaring the ID for this div. So that we are already in here, so let's do something else also. As you guys could notice that Vue uses interpolation code before it loads the page. For example, if I explain, when you load a Laravel page, it will show you the Vue code in curly braces for a half a second or a second. So we don't want that in our project. So what we can do is in here let's declare a style tag, and inside here let's put our brackets, and let's say v clock, and let's put our curly braces. Now in here let's say display colon none, And we want to now use this vClock in our app div. So let's paste it here, and that's all. Now let's check our code if it works, but before that let's also run yarn run dev to make or compile the changes. So our code has been compiled successfully. Now if we get back to the browser and let's refresh and let's log into the system. So in here let's put our credentials. So hafiz@app.com and password is password. Now to check if our Vue is working, you have to get this message which says you are running Vue in development mode. And if we test our Vue, if it works correctly, let's back to the text editor and get some data from the database. So what we can do is let's type some code in here. Let's create our data field, and inside here let's return a user's object. It should be empty. After that, let's say mounted, and inside here let's say axios.get API/users. Because we will be securing the API routes, so we will use API routes in here. After that, let's say then, and then we have response from the controller or database, and then our anonymous function. So let's say this dot users should equal to response dot data, and we also want to catch some errors. So let's say errors should equal to anonymous function, and we want to log the errors to the console. So console.log errors. So after this we have to create this route in our API routes file. So let's go to the routes api.php, and in here let's create it after this route. So route : get users, and it should go to app /http /controllers /API let's say user controller at users method. Now we have to create this controller into our controllers folder. So let's say php artisan make controller, and we want to create a folder first, then user controller, and press enter. So our controller has been created successfully. Now let's create this users method in our controller. So let's go to app http controllers API user controller. So this one should be after this. First let's use our user model. So use app /models /user model, and in here let's say return response arrow JSON, and inside here user model : latest arrow get, and that's all. Well, something's wrong. This should be latest. Well, it still has an error. Oh guys, we have to first create a function. Silly mistake. So let's say public function users, and then we want to get the data. Yeah, this is correct. So now let's show the data in our home blade. So let's go to home blade, and in here what I will do is remove this code, and let's create a p tag, and let's say v4 equals to parenthesis, and in here let's say user index in users. Well, if you remember, we made this users object in our app.js, and we made it globally, so we will have access to this object in our home blade. So after this, let's say : key should be index, and in here let's fetch some data. So user.name. Now let's run yarn run watch. So our code has been compiled successfully, guys. Now if we get back to the browser and refresh, we should get the user's information. So as you guys can see, we have 2 users in the database. So now guys, let's work on how to secure the API routes. Because if I may show you, when I type API/users in here, I will get the data. Well, I am authenticated. But let's say we are unauthenticated. So let's say log out from here. And let's say API/users. And we will still get the data, which is not good for security. But what if I declare the middleware of auth in our controller? So let's do it. Let's go to user controller, and in here let's say public function construct, and in here what I want to do is use middleware. So $this arrow middleware, and it should be auth. So now if we get back, refresh, well, we are not getting that data. But what if we log in? So let's log into the system. So let's say hafiz@app.com, and the password is password. But now we will not get the data in our dashboard also, because JavaScript needs API authentication, not session based authentication. So we have to make a way to secure our API routes. And what if I change this auth to API? Well, if it will work. But if we log out again and see the data, let's say API users, we will have access to it. And not only this, if we open Postman, where we can test our API routes, so let's copy this URL and paste it in here, and let's say API/users. And if I send the request, we can access our data from outside of the browser also, which is not also good for security reasons. So for this to solve, guys, we have to use a package, and that is an official package which comes from the Laravel documentation, and its name is Laravel Passport. And besides that, we will also use JWT, which is JavaScript Web Token, for securing our API routes. So let's start implementing Laravel Passport in JWT. So let me close this one, and let's go to the Laravel documentation. And in here the version that we are using is 8.x, so leave it, and let's go to packages and open Passport. So in here, if I scroll down, yeah, you can install it using Composer. So let's copy this command and get back to our text editor, and let's create another terminal and paste our command and press enter. So now let's go back, guys, to the documentation and copy this PHP artisan migrate, because we want to migrate the passport tables. So let's paste it, press enter, and it will create all the tables for us. But it is throwing some errors. Well, guys, let's migrate fresh. So PHP artisan migrate fresh, because I have previously used the table for another project, so it is for that reason. But if you are working on a new project where you didn't have installed or anything else you did with the Laravel Passport, so PHP artisan migrate will work for you. So I will run it as a fresh migration. As you guys can see, now I don't have any errors, so it should be good to go. Now let's get back to the documentation and install our Passport clients. So let's copy this command and let's paste it in our terminal, press enter. So it has created 2 clients, one for personal access and the other for password grant. So guys, let's close these files. Well, let's close this home app API app.js. We don't need them, but we could need our user controller in the future. So now let's get back to the documentation, and where we want to use this passport. In that model we have to include this has API tokens because we want to use it for the authentication, so we have to use it in our user model. So copy this and let's go to this models folder, user model, and let's paste our code at the top. And now let's copy this and use it inside our user class. So put a comma and paste it. And this is all for the user model. So let's close it. Now if we get back to the documentation, now we have to open this app providers and auth service provider file to make some changes. So first of all, let's copy this use Laravel Passport and get back to the text editor and go to providers, auth service provider, and in here let's paste it. And at the bottom what we will do is use passport routes. So let's copy this and get back to the text editor. Let's remove this comment and paste it. So we are done here too. So let's close it. And the last thing that is left, if we scroll down in the documentation, now we have to go to this config auth.php and use the API default driver as passport. So let's copy this, get back to the text editor and go to config auth.php, and if I scroll down, as you can see, now this is token. We have to say this should be passport. Now let's close this file also. Now this was all the setup for the Laravel Passport in Laravel 8. Now the only thing that we need is to secure our API routes is using JWT. So what we can do is get back to the documentation and scroll to the top, and in the list we should select this consuming your API with JavaScript. So click on this and just copy this line of code. And we want to paste it in app http kernel.php. So let's go to this file http kernel.php, and we have to paste it in this middleware groups web. So let's paste it at the bottom of all. Now this was all to secure API routes. So let's close this file, and instead of API, now we have to say auth::API, because if we check our API routes file, you can see we have this middleware in one of the routes that says auth API, which means you can secure your API routes like this. So let's save this file and let's get back to the browser and go to our project tab. Now if I refresh, first let's write in the URL API/user. We shouldn't be able to get the data. As you can see, it redirects us to the login page. But what if we go back to the Postman and send this request again? So let's send it. As you guys can see, it sends the login page. If we preview it, you will see a login page. I don't know for what reason it's not showing the login page, but you can see we are not getting the data anymore. And if I scroll down here, you can see this is the login page, which means it's returning the login page. So what if we log in to our system now? So let's say hafiz@app.com and the password is password. We should be able to see our data in the database. Well guys, I think I have migrated fresh all the migrations, so I have to register. So let's register very fast. The app.com password is password. And as you guys can see, I have now access to Hafiz. And if we get back to the Postman, send the request again, we won't be able to get the data, because this is outside of the authentication scope. So this means guys, we have successfully secured our API routes. And now you have learned how to install Vue.js in Laravel 8 project and also secure API routes using Passport and JWT. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video, and if you guys enjoyed watching the video, Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit the like button and share the video with your friends. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.